Did you know if you drive into Paris on a Sunday, on-street parking is free, and although the traffic is busy, it's not too hectic. We got to visit the Eiffel Tower and Montmartre and see some of the sights without the stress and expense of taking a family of 6 on the RER and Metro. We decided to visit Paris and Disneyland at the end of the February half term on the way back from a skiing trip to Chamonix. We stayed in an apartment in Bussy St George as it's really easy to get to Disneyland and it's on the RER train line to central Paris. The apartment slept 6 and was £265 for 3 nights, which we booked through booking.com. The drive into Paris took about 40 minutes. There is a low emission zone across the whole of Paris, but as far as we could tell, it isn't in effect on a Sunday. We had thought parking might be a bit of a nightmare, but we found a load of empty spaces on the Champ de Mars right next to the Eiffel Tower. I'm not sure I would have driven any other day of the week, as the price of parking is extortionate if you can even find a space. If you enjoy family road trip holidays, please do subscribe to our channel. We've got films about driving to Chamonix for skiing and an independent tour of Egypt coming up. As a new channel, every subscription really helps. Thank you. The Eiffel Tower was originally constructed for the 1889 World's Fair. It was only meant to stand for 20 years. Today it's not just still here, it's become the defining symbol of Paris. Up close, its scale is striking. The structure stands at 330 metres tall. That's about the height of an 80-storey building, and it was, for a time, the tallest man-made structure in the world. We paid to take the elevators to the summit, which was pricey but definitely worth it. I'll just pause the video here for a second so you can have a look at the prices. You can get a cheaper ticket if you want to walk up the stairs to the second stage. Do check online for all the different options and prices. We arrived about 10:30 and the queue was not too bad. The lifts take you up through the iron lattice that's made up of more than 18,000 individual metal components. In heat, the metal can expand enough for the tower to grow by up to 15 centimetres. The first lift takes you up to the second floor where you get spectacular views over Paris. I'd say the views are better from this stage than from the top, as from the summit it's more like being in an aeroplane and everything is much further away. We had to queue for the next lift, which is much smaller and takes you to the summit. Our youngest is scared of heights, but she managed the whole experience without any issues. From the top, the view stretches right across Paris. The Seine cuts through the city with landmarks unfolding in every direction. It's a perspective that helps explain why nearly 7 million people make this journey every year. During the Second World War, as German forces occupied the city, the French famously cut the lift cables, meaning any visiting Nazis would have to climb the stairs to reach the top. When Adolf Hitler arrived in Paris, he never made it to the summit, a small but symbolic act of defiance. On our way down, we stopped to look around the first stage where there's a glass floor, a restaurant and snack bars. We got Eiffel Tower shaped waffles for €7 each, as the kids were getting hangry. So is going to the top worth it? We thought so. Although you get spectacular views from the other levels, going to the top in the much smaller lift feels like more of an adventure. If you're on a budget, you could just take the lift to the second stage or even walk up the stairs. Of all the trips we've taken over the years, I'm sure visiting the summit of the Eiffel Tower will be one of the experiences the kids will remember for the rest of their lives. Next, we had planned on taking the Amphibious bus tour of Paris, which takes you to most of the main sites and also drives into the River Seine, where it turns into a boat. This leaves from the Champ de Mars right next to where we parked, but it couldn't enter the river on the day we were there because of the high water levels. So we decided to do our own mini driving tour instead and drove to Montmartre via the Arc de Triomphe. The Etoile roundabout is a notorious driving adventure because instead of giving way to the traffic to your left, like most French roundabouts, Traffic on the roundabout gives way to vehicles driving onto it. It's complete madness and makes no sense whatsoever, but it's always fun and quite relaxed on a Sunday. Google Maps did a good job of getting us near Montmartre, and when we were close enough, we just parked as soon as we saw an empty space. Again, parking here on a Sunday was free. Montmartre is my favourite part of Paris, and if you're into café culture, browsing shops for nothing in particular, and just hanging out in a place with lots of art, history and atmosphere, this is definitely a good place to come. It was raining when we visited, which meant the usual artists and musicians that provide a lot of the ambience were not doing their thing, but it was still an enjoyable time. We had a meal in one of the cafes in the square and then headed to see the Basilica of the Sacred Heart, which I'd never been inside before. So some final thoughts on driving into Paris. I would advise only do it on a Sunday as the parking is free and we managed to find spaces where we needed them. If it's your first time driving in France and you find driving in European cities you don't know daunting, then just take the RER train. Paris is probably not the place to cut your teeth. If you found this film helpful, why not watch our guide to visiting Disneyland Paris next?